This is my final conclusions on these 5 budget price rifles. I kind of don't like really coming up with this, but I don't have the time. People want answers and keep asking me which one I like better, this and that. I really don't like drawing a conclusion till I get, like, on a gun like this, about a couple hundred rounds through it. And I really haven't gotten more than 40 or 60 rounds through any of them. But from other reviews and that, and what I've found in my own experience, just casually doing this, I'm going to give my conclusions and opinions on these guns. Now, I might say one is fine, but after 150 rounds it may start developing problems. So it's just the way it goes, and a lot of people, when things don't work quite right, immediately, just send it back to the company for warranty, repair, and that. And all of these guns, they're not the top of the line, they're not the best models, they're actually the bottom models for most of these companies. So, you got to expect that they're not going to be perfect in any respect. So, alright, from what I've done with the shooting and accuracy and function testing, I've got them lined up, the 5 of them. I'm going to start with the one that I really kind of don't recommend you buy, okay, and the one I've had the most trouble with. And that is the Remington 770. Now, this gun has had all kinds of negative reviews in that. When Remington tried to make a budget gun and cut corners, it did a few weird things in this model that kind of really hurt it. First of all, the stock's not free-floating. The stock's pretty crappy. And, a change in a stock that's $130 to, or you can get an @1 for $200, but that kind of defeats the purpose of a budget gun. The magazine really didn't give me any problems, but like I said, I didn't have a lot going through it, but when I did the 200-yard testing, this was the only gun that had a jam. Okay, it failed, and I had my wife running the camera. She was on the other side. She didn't see it fail or whatever. I wish she had the camera concentrated on the gun so I could have diagnosed and looked at the video and see what happened. But it was a misfeed. It got jammed. I had a bunch of problems with it. Then another thing, don't get this gun as a gift or something for somebody who is inexperienced, not used to rifles or shooting. My wife tried to fire this, and I think she got 1 round off. It jammed again. Whatever she did, she repeated the jam, and then just couldn't get the bolt. The bolt froze on her. She was like tugging, and total failure. Okay, so that's why this is at the bottom of the list. I don't recommend it. The stock ergonomics, the functioning with this binding bolt and that weird stupid plastic insert in the back, it's not a good design. Okay, it's usable, it's accurate. I can, when the gun works, it's accurate as hell in this caliber. But for the casual buyer or somebody that's only going to get one gun, I would stay away from the 770. And actually, I'll show you here, after we tried to clear the jams out yesterday, at 100 yards, I kept, and that's rapid fire. I kind of kept just about all of them in the bowl. So the gun has potential for accuracy. I mean, if you work on it or tweak it, it's a gun that functions and is usable for its intents and purposes. And it's not that expensive. But if you're the type of person that doesn't want to go through fooling with the stock, fooling with the other things, and being careful with it, it's not a good rifle. So that's at the bottom. Next one, because of several problems, is the Savage Axis. I got this at number 4. And the reason is, the stock on this is real flimsy, and this magazine, out of all of them, doesn't, like, it works, it locks, but I don't like the all plastic thing there. I think that may be a durability problem over time. In a 6.5 Creedmoor, this gun is super accurate. It's an accurate gun. Okay, it's a good shooting gun. It's comfortable to shoot and stock the way it is. But the difficulty of removing the bolt, and also with the bolt, I noticed what I believe is happening is I would have a binding. Now that's getting tough. With a loaded magazine with 4 rounds, the first one, it must be when it pops up off of there, depending on how you cycle it. That cartridge, probably because of the force of the spring, bounces it in a way where this doesn't like to close. Actually, that bolt is kind of binding more as I've been firing it. I've only got 40 rounds through this. The bolt's binding coming down, and it also gets stiff coming up, especially with a fired case in there. I noticed when I was shooting it in the shooting review yesterday, it's getting tighter and tighter. I've had several people send me messages or in my comments. One person just told me they sent this back to the factory the 3rd time because it gets to the point where he can't open the bolt, get the bolt open when he fires the gun. And they're telling him it's an ammunition problem or whatever. But it shouldn't be. If the ammunition goes in all right, when you fire it, it shouldn't bind up, which I've noticed this one started doing. Actually, my wife only got 3 rounds out of this, and she was asking me why is this so hard to open, and even now it kind of is binding. So questions about it. I don't know what's causing it. I think the binding when I close on the first one, and it only happens on the first round out of the magazine when there's 4 rounds in there. So it's probably the cartridge just hopping and getting caught up, which shouldn't really do that. But then again, that's these detachable box magazines that go to the center and feed that way. It's in the design of the gun, okay? Because these guns are all made for different calibers, and there's got to be a reason why they make that magazine feed dead center, okay? Again, it's in a design. So that's number 4. You can get these guns. The access is reasonable in that. They're not a terrible gun, but the reason I got it down at 4 is because of these problems. And like I said, I haven't shot enough through it to see if it is a problem, or over time will it go away, or it's an issue. But there's 2 or 3 people who have told me about this bolt issue. Now next up, and this is also the gun that gets the most views when I shoot it or whatever, is the Remington 783. That's in 3rd place. The reason it's in 3rd place is, again, magazine deal. Like I said, the fix was put it in there to 4 rounds, wiggle it till it's straight. If the bolt's open and you stick the mag in, it'll feed. If the bolt's closed or you got a round in the chamber and do that, then it pushes this down and cocks the cartridge, and I had a failure to feed with this. It's because something about the magazine, when you put the 4 rounds down in there, something tilts the floor plate. The spring, the bottom, the plastic, I don't know. And you will misfeed, it will miss the round. If you put a loaded mag in or don't wiggle it, if you just load it, you can see it where it's at an angle. And if you don't adjust it, it'll misfeed. So, and then you got to pull the mag out, fool around, have the bolt open. The gun shouldn't have that problem. And I'm not going to tear this apart or try to disassemble this magazine to see what's going on. So that's the one distraction there. They say they're the most accurate out of them. Remington brags you can shoot 5 rounds into a ragged hole. And there are people who have done it. Okay, it depends on the ammunition and getting that in there. So the gun is capable of accuracy. And the only other thing is, even though this bolt handle is adequate and works, I found that when I used a different one, it was easier to manipulate. Then I picked this gun up, I was having trouble with this bolt, smacking my thumb and this and that. If this was the only rifle I had, I'd get used to it, and just over time it would not be a problem. But there are other guns that I like the bolt better. The bolt handle, the bolt handle setup better. This is an accurate gun, and it also has the smoothest bolt action on there. The only one that's similar to it, the two of them that have the smoothest bolt, is this 783 and the Mossberg Patriot. So I put this in number 3. Also, the stock, I would probably, if I kept this gun, I would replace this stock with a wooden stock and get a more stable platform, and probably would make this an outstanding gun in this caliber 308. But again, you know, that puts me into a $500 gun, where you can buy a nice gun for $500. Also, an update, starting this year, 2018, you know, I said that this gun was not available in 6.5 Creedmoor. Remington, I guess, has listened. The 783 is now available in a 6.5 Creedmoor. They have a couple different versions. One is like a scout or tactical version. It'll have the synthetic stock, a short 16-inch barrel, and a threaded muzzle in 6.5 Creedmoor. Okay. Also, Remington makes this with a walnut stock. You can buy the same gun with a hard walnut stock, a wooden stock. And again, they added the 6.5 Creedmoor. I don't think that has a threaded barrel, but it's the same rifle as this, but with a wood stock from the factory. Okay, but then again, it's more expensive. It's another $150 more, which would be the same thing if you put a wooden stock on this. So you kind of see, to keep it in a budget price, the things that make it a budget gun are also a lot of the things that detract or are a con in the overall performance of the gun. Okay, number 2. Actually, these kind of come in, it's a tie up here, but number 2 is the TC Compass. What I like about this gun is, like I was saying, this has a type of bolt. I was using this bolt, and I mean, I really like it. It works good for me. It's not as smooth as a 783, but I like where the handle is, the 3-lug bolt, 60-degree throw. Oop, I can use it, you know, I can use it fairly well. And the stock, I would not change this stock at all. Out of all of them, this stock I like the best, and it fits me the best, and that's just my opinion on it. It shot better, it shot straighter because I mounted the scope and tuned it in, I guess, but it's just a $30 scope. So, as for the 5R rifling, when we looked at the group size, the 783 and 308, which are similar calibers, the Remington still shot a tighter group by about a ½ inch or so. So, I don't know if it makes a difference, but like I said, it's something I'd have to spend a lot of time testing and fooling with. So the Compass comes in at number 2. And the reason it comes in at number 2 is because this magazine, this rotary magazine, is a pain to load. When I was out there shooting it, just getting them last 2 rounds in, I got a fool with it, put it on the bench, and that's the only distraction or detraction is the mag. The mag's just a pain. It works, but it's difficult to load. And the safety, even though it's a copy of the Winchester Model 70 safety, the safety up here, those are the 2 things that I kind of don't like about it. And Also, you're going to see in the future all of them are going to have a threaded muzzle, which at the time I purchased this was the only one that had it as a standard feature. So the reason the compass got knocked down to 2, the mag and the safety, and now why I picked the number 1 as the Mossberg Hunter is because if you are a casual shooter, if you're really not into guns and not into reloading and all this other stuff, this rifle out of the other 4, out of the box, it was the closest being sighted in, but mind you, I did tighten down these screws and more or less, double check the mounting of the scope so it's not loose, because if it's loose, it can be problematic. I like the bolt. The bolt action is smooth, and I like the way the bolt is. It's a little bit bigger, longer, easier for me to manipulate. Smooth action. Also, the magazine. Even though the magazine is all plastic, it's like a standard box magazine. You push the cartridges down, they feed through just fine. No trouble with the mag. Nothing, nothing like that. So, and it shoots well. Okay. So you got smooth bolt. Like I said, this one and the Remington 783 are the smoothest functioning bolt actions. I like the handle on this better than any of the others. This one or the compass have a bolt handle that I can grasp well. The stock, as is fairly good for me. It fits well. It's nice. I wouldn't change it. So this one and the compass, I wouldn't be tempted on changing the stock. And also, if you like this and you want a wooden stock, for a few $100s more, you can get the same version of this with a wooden stock and a better scope. The scope, the commander isn't terrible, but again, it's just like the others. It's not the most expensive model they have, or type. And it shoots well. The only strange thing about this is it strings the shots, and I haven't quite figured out what it is. I haven't gotten more than 35 rounds to this rifle. Again, like I said, I'd have to try to figure out what is causing the stringing, because it did it with 2 different types of ammunition. But it is quite accurate. It was tight groups with a flyer. The one thing about this that people complain is these action screws. There's only 2 of them that hold in here. This upper one, they say, you only got like 3 threads going in to the receiver for it intersects with where the barrel is. Which, there are some people that talked about that and complained that that's not a very stable or good thing. These action screws not going into depth well. And again, that's a design thing. It could be why it's stringing. Usually stringing is caused by either something touching the barrel or something moving with each shot. I'm not sure. But if you wanted to get one of these and have the least amount of hassles and trouble and no problems, without getting in depth or without fixing, repairing, or sanding stocks or doing stuff, it would be the Mossberg Patriot probably is the gun to go with. Okay, also it's a little bit more expensive. This one was a few dollars more. I think the next one I got without a sale or nothing was the 783. This one was just $352 with the tax. They don't have rebates. They don't, maybe now they have sales in that now with Black Thursday. But again, it's kind of the most expensive one. And like I said, again, it's personal choice. If there's something in here like these magazines and that you don't like, you could always just for a few $100s more upgrade to a different type of rifle. That's my conclusions on it. And looking, my choices are I know there's people out there that really like the Axis and don't get upset I put it in 4th place, but for a person who's not really gun savvy, knows something about guns, doesn't want to get into sanding, correcting or anything, go with the Mossberg. The Compass is a close second. Like I said, the magazine, and it's not got the smoothest bolt. Okay, that's why it kind of beat out, or the Mossberg beat it out, is because of that. Now the Remington 783 does have its flaws, you know, the magazine, all this other stuff, but it's a good gun. I get a lot of views on it, and it's an accurate gun. And all these guns are fairly accurate. Okay, they're all about the same. You know, you get the right bullet combination or the right ammunition, and what you'd have to do is just go buy some different brands and find, depending on what you're hunting and what caliber, a certain style bullet and a certain brand of ammo will shoot better if you're not into the reloading in that. But that's my take on it. Like I said, the Axis came in 4th because the bolt issue, like I said, I'd like to get a couple hundred rounds through this before I pass judgment on it, but I did notice it, and several people have told me it's starting to bind up on me. M770 is just kind of not a good design, is what's hurting that. It's potentially accurate, but you'd have to do some tweaking in that to get it to where it'd be a nice, reliable gun, okay? So that's the way it is. And what I'm going to do also is, this is the review on the budget rifles. After I'm done with this series, I'm going to take a series of other hunting rifles I have, a Winchester 30-30 with open sights, my grandfather's converted Mauser with open sights, and I do have that FN 30-06 with the old Weaver K5 scope on there, and then take them out and shoot the non-typical ammo and see what these guns of a different class, they're not the budget bolt guns, but see how they stand up accuracy and putting lead down range compared to these. Because these are things you could find in a pawn shop and that at the comparable price of these guns here. And they're more older designs and well-engineered designs, more or less proven by time, just out of curiosity. But that wraps it up for my budget review here. And I hope it helps you out. I hope, you know, my take on it gives you enough info to make a decision on which one of these you'd like to try out.